So, welcome everybody. Olivia, we're looking for you because I want to know you get up those stairs okay. So, when you text this, give us an idea, and then one of us will watch for you. Okay. A New Thought message is always going to be about principle, plain and simple. The challenge with teaching New Thought is you're not relying on a bunch of scare tactics, nor are you relying on any kind of dogma. There's really nothing you're relying on but the truth. The question is the truth enough? The truth is enough for me, personally, but I don't know if the truth is enough for you. It's always been enough for me. It's been enough for me since I was a kid. I was a rebel when I was younger, and some of you can relate because I know some of you well. You hear Rebel Without a Cause, remember the movie? Well, I was a rebel with a cause. You know, I couldn't want to live my life based on a bunch of nonsense. And I was a young kid, and I remember saying to my father things like, you know, this doesn't make any kind of sense. We were raised a Catholic family, we went to Catholic schools, we were taught out of the New Testament, and I remember all the things that I was learning, and fortunately, I had a dad who went and had Jesuit training, and you know, the Jesuits were a little different than a lot of Christians in that they were scholars. And they asked questions, and they weren't afraid of questions. My mother, in contrast, was a good Catholic girl who went to St. Rose, and she didn't question it. She just was a good Catholic girl who wanted to raise children. It was a different relationship. But I would ask questions, well, how is it my aunt gets excommunicated when my uncle has the affair? And how come she can't receive sacraments, and why is that? And how come she's eternally, well, he said she's not damned, I said, but she can't receive the sacraments. She's this, she's that, and everything else according to the church. You know, and why is it later that I'm responsible, everything's my fault? How is it that I was born with original sin? How did that happen? And part of the catechism, it's through my fault, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. How and why and where and who would believe such stuff? And my father used to be amused because he loved those kinds of questions. And he'd say, Greg, you must think you have a hot mind of the Holy Ghost. And he was delighted, and my mother was perplexed. And because they knew there was never, ever, ever going to be a way to stop me from any of those kinds of inquiries. If it doesn't make sense, I don't want any part of it. New Thought is like that. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, God help the world when a thinker is let loose upon a planet. It's like a conflagration that goes out into a city and spreads everywhere. I cannot believe that this whole world has been imprisoned by Christianity for the past 2,000 years. I'm not saying anything about Jesus the man. I'm talking about what was done, the institutions that were created around him, I think have been horrible. People have been slaughtered on every continent in the name of Jesus Christ. Our country is not a Christian country, nor has it ever been. I read this article from William Edelin, who's one of my favorites. The article in his book, by the way, was called Toward the Mystery. He was a columnist who wrote for 30 years. A minister, a professor of religious studies and anthropology. An excerpt. He said, the founding fathers would howl if you called them Christian. In few other areas of American history is there such a distortion of facts as there are regarding the religious orientation of our founding fathers. A columnist not long ago wrote, 200 years ago, having religion meant one's life had been drastically altered by the saving lordship of Jesus Christ. Our country was founded by born-again men of heart and mind. I'll repeat that. Our country was founded by born-again men of heart and mind. Those statements are absurd. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, and even Abraham Lincoln, they must all be turning in their graves. Our country wasn't founded as a Christian nation. Our most distinguished founding fathers did not believe in a personal God. They did not believe in the Bible, and they didn't believe the Bible was anything other than literature, and they had an almost contempt for the Christian clergy and the Christian doctrine. God to them, those men that we esteem so highly, was nature's God, an impersonal, personal form, a loving providence. In the interest of truth and integrity, I will let these brilliant men speak for themselves. George Washington refused to ever take communion. He looked upon it as complete superstition. He refused to recite the liturgy, the Apostles' Creed and the like. He refused to kneel because he knew that the presence of God was a part of him and surrounding him. Historians classify him as a deist, as did his contemporaries. He never at any time professed any Christian doctrine or dogma. Episcopalian Bishop Wilson declared George Washington to be the only declared to be a Unitarian if anything. Historians say that Washington recommended and concurred with the American Consul, Joel Barlow's statement, which was written in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, that the government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. John Adams, one of my favorite presidents, wrote, "This is my religion, joy. Joy is my religion, an exaltation in my own very existence. This is my religion." So go ahead and snarl, bite, howl, you Calvinistic divines, he said, and all who say, I am no Christian. Joy is my religion. I say you are not Christian, he said to them. That was Adam's statements to the Christians. I say you are not Christians. And regarding the Trinity, our second president wrote this. This is Adams, our second president, writing to Thomas Jefferson. He said, "Dear Tom, had you and I been 40 days with Moses and beheld the great God, and even if God himself had tried to tell us that the three were one, and 1 equals 3, you and I would have never believed it. We would have never fell victim to such lies." Thomas Jefferson was a genius, as most of us know. Bill Clinton at the White House, when he was addressing all the Nobel Prize winners one evening, the room was filled with some of the most brilliant people assembled. He says, "Never in this room has there been so much intelligence and genius except when Thomas Jefferson was here dining alone." Jefferson said he would never fall victim to such lies. Thomas Jefferson was a genius, the sole author of the Declaration of Independence, outside of a few minor, like Leslie does my edits and tweaks. This man wrote the thing. He called the Bible a dunghill. What's a dunghill? Jefferson referred to the Bible as a dunghill, and he said that to remove a few of the teachings of Jesus was to remove the few diamonds that are sitting in the dunghill. Other quotes. Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man. Jefferson. The authors of the Gospels were unlettered and ignorant men, and the teachings of Jesus have come to us mutilated, misstated, and unintelligible from anything he ever uttered. Benjamin Franklin wrote, I have on Christian dogma unintelligible. Early in life, I absented myself from Christian assemblies totally and completely. James Madison, another great, wrote, during almost 15 centuries, the legal establishment known as Christianity has been on trial. And what has been its fruits, more or less in all places? I ask you that. These are the truths of Christianity, Madison said. Pride, indolence, ignorance, arrogance in the clergy, ignorance in the congregants, arrogance and servility in the laity, and in both clergy and laity, superstition, bigotry, and persecution. Thomas Paine, the great inspiration of both James Madison and Abraham Lincoln. He wrote, when I see throughout this book called the Bible a history of the grossest vices and a collection of the most paltry and contemptible tales and stories, I could not so dishonor my Creator by calling it His name. Abraham Lincoln said, I have never united myself to any fundamental church because I could not give assent to the long, complicated statements of Christian doctrine and dogma which characterize their articles of belief and confessions of faith. And when any church will require only the great commandment for belief, then I will join that church. That's an important statement. So Lincoln is saying, when any church will require only the great commandment for belief, then I will join. Well, what was the great commandment?
Love one another?
There are two.
Well, say them both. Do you remember them even?
Thou shalt love.
You shall love your
God, God with all thy heart.
With all your heart, your soul, and your being. Okay, that's what we're talking about. So when Abraham Lincoln said, when any church will require only the great commandment, to love your God and your fellow man with your whole heart and being, he says, then I will join that church. If that's the only requirement of it. Lincoln would never be baptized. He would never make any profession of Christian faith. Refused. And he would never affiliate himself with any church or denomination. He would never subscribe to any liturgy or ritual such as the things we're talking about. His own wife said, was Mary, right?
Yes.
She said, Mary said, Lincoln, my husband is not a Christian, but he's a deeply, deeply religious man. She says, I think and I know it of him, but he's certainly not a Christian. Perhaps the point is made for those who would care to pursue it further prior to making statements that will cause the Enlightenment to blush with embarrassment. That's what she said. A show of hands on how many would like our founding fathers' religious orientation to have been different is not going to change the facts. I've watched the Republicans, I've watched these elections over the past in my lifetime. They talk about Christian this, Christian that, founding fathers, Christian nation. Not so, not so, untrue, completely crap. Crapola, not true. They came here to have freedom from religion. Freedom to express life and to have the religion and to be in with nature and to express as they wanted to. And how that stuff keeps on creeping in, I have no idea. But in the interest of integrity, let us not be celebrating what never was. This country was founded on some principles. For there is much that we can celebrate. None of it is that. Okay? We can celebrate that there's a power for good operating through you, as you, is you, it is you, it's animating your life, and we can ascribe to some of these men's their great principles. The principle of joy and connection, and knowing the truth of interconnection of everybody, that there is one loving presence that lives in you, through you, operating through you, inspiring you, wooing you, as Emerson said. Guiding you, giving you clues, setting you on the right path over and over again, no matter how many times you fail. You don't need anybody to punish you. You punish yourself. Over and over and over again, you punish yourself. There is a corrective principle operating in life, operating through you, as you. You pray to what? And for what? God is not going to save anybody in this room or anybody anywhere. I'll say it again. God is not going to save you, anyone in this room, anywhere, anytime. Be you renewed by by what? The transformation of what? Your consciousness, your story. What is your life story about? Are you living your life small still? Are you approaching the ocean of life as a beggar to a banquet? Are you a giver? Are you a lifter, or are you a leaner? Are you a drag, or are you somebody that lifts life up? Do you see the God in good, the God in everything? Or are you in some story? What a pity, right? You could do different. We can do more. We can grow this center. This center is amazing. This teaching is phenomenal. I don't know who teaches it like we teach it, and I don't care. Nothing is denied anybody. You're going to get exactly what you deserve. Now, I know that statement got rough, so I will explain it. When I say you're going to get exactly what you deserve, I mean the universe says yes to you. If you think you deserve only a crappy relationship with somebody who doesn't really listen to you anymore, or you think you deserve to be impoverished and your life is over, and you think that you get to be right in your own life. But if you have a burning desire to express joy and you go out there, you'll be employed, you'll be wanted, everything will start to work for you. But it works from the inside out always. I will say that again. It works from the inside out always. Nobody is gonna save you. You gotta be a rebel of some kind, because otherwise what you're doing is you're just buying into the stories that have been given to you all your life by generations of people, well-intentioned in other ways. And no matter if you're 2 or 22, 42 or 82, the point of power is always where? Right here, right now, with you, operating through you, as you. There's nothing ever stopping you except what? So do you want renewal? Do you want health? How about a little wealth? How about a lot of wealth? How about a little love? How about a lot of love? It accepts you at your own level. It gives you if you say no to lesser circumstances and you die, I can walk in the center. I did it today. I had to do a version of a treatment. For who? Absolutely, for me. I'm not looking for my good from you. I know I create that in me. Y'all can go do what you need to do. I hope you stay. But I'm not relying on you guys to grow this center. I'm going to tell you that straight up. I mean, I really love it when you do participate, but I know that we have something important to do here. We're doing important work, and we what? Can't come down, no way. But that same type of excitement and passion that you hear in me right this morning, really it needs to live where? Yeah, in you, operating through you. And watch the oceans, you would be like the Bible. Watch the oceans part for you. Nobody's going to mess with that. Because you're a man or a woman on fire then. You know what you know and you do what you do. I'm going to start quoting Dr. Seuss. You know where to go with that. Thing is, it's saying yes to you and it's wooing you. The whole system is designed for your success. And then you'll get into your stories, but, and get off your damn what? Buts, because those things are just all the stories that hold you back. Know that you're in the right place at the right time. Never, never, never criticize yourself. Know that all the things that are happening in your world are happening not to you, but for you. Know from the Course in Miracles, it takes great wisdom to understand that all events, circumstances, and happenings are helpful. Let those realities begin to live in you. And then, the places you will go. So it is.
So it is.